Brothers, sisters, and gender resistors, welcome to what will most likely be a heated discussion right off the bat because we are on a time crunch. This is a turbo episode. We're going to try our damnedest, I swear. Welcome to the Rundown Reviews brought to you by the Comic Book Rundown. I, of course, am the man that has been lucky enough to do this introduction. I'm Chuck, and I am joined by the CEO, Editor-in-Chief, Supreme Ruler, and Reptilian Overlord of the Comic Book Rundown. Ron's here.
Hey,
he
everybody.
did just wait for his slumber. So it'll be an interesting, I don't know what I like better, sleepy Ron or drunk Ron, but we could have both potentially. We'll see.
No, actually, I only had 2 beers and 2 whiskeys and a beer while I was there.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. That's like a Tim thirst quencher. So you'll be fine. Listen. Elite Showdown's back, and I've been watching. I've seen the empties. That's all I'm saying. And of course, we're joined by the one true fan, or some would say, of Star Wars, the man who knows virtually everything. Jordan from formerly Recommend Podcast back. Hello, Jordan.
Hello there.
Hello there. Oh, and Joe's here. So I teased last week that I had a pretty hot take prior to watching this movie. And I still think I have a hot take with notes. I took notes, okay? I took notes.
That he was telling me this before we started, and I was surprised.
That's not
Dude, I have a whole page of notes.
You and I always take notes, though.
This one is the least amount of notes I've taken.
Yeah, I actually took notes because I wanted
notes.
I wanted to make sure that my point made sense and that I could stay on track. That's how serious I am about this.
Do you want to hold on to that, or do you want to start out with that?
No, I want to start with it so it has time to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Because if I remember correctly, Jordan and I are going to be very heated in opposite fields.
Well,
but let's
I don't know.
start
I'm waiting to see what you say because I may have a different take than I thought I was going to have.
Okay, let's start with this. What is everybody's stance on the Duel of Fates? The music, the scene, the everything.
Well, I don't think they're playing Duel of Fates during this one. I think that was episode 1.
Duel of Fates was...
Oh, is it?
Obi-Wan
what's the song that plays between Obi-Wan and...
Are they playing Duel of Fates during that time?
I don't think
remember.
it was.
Yeah, the they play that during Obi-Wan and...
Why did I think it was different?
Anakin. Okay, I've always assumed that was called the Duel. That was the Duel of Fates.
No, because the song is called Duel of Fates, and it started with Darth Maul.
It was Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan. Yeah.
Okay, so I've just always had it wrong my entire life. Fine. Okay, the big climactic, what also sounds like the Duel of Fates music. See, like this entire scene.
Battle of the Heroes. Battle of the Heroes is what that's called.
Stupid, dumb. It's Duel of Fates now.
Duel of Fates sounds better.
It's Duel of Fates Part 2 remix. What is your feeling of the scene, of the story, of the song, of everything? Would you argue that this is the best fight scene of this trilogy?
Of the trilogy?
Yeah.
I would say it's between that and the Maul, but give it probably this ekes it up just a little bit for me. Like this is an amazing fight scene for me. Jordan,
Ronald,
or Rod, one of whoever.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Okay, I was gonna say, objectively, the Maul scene is the better of the two. And this holds more emotional weight, though. The problem is it's so long and they use so much CGI. About 65% of this fight is amazing. Choreographed well, looks great, everything. The other 35% is just CGI garbage that I wish we would have never had. And it kind of ends on a crappy scene where they're like floating on these weird things over lava that sucks. And then it ends with the exclamation point, which was good, about him chopping down Anakin and them yelling back and forth, and you see that like hatred going on, which I thought was good. But I feel like it starts off so good that choreography was great. They're going through the halls, they're doing this, that, then it just like melts, and then they try to like rephrase it and it just doesn't really work. So I would say this is Maul's better, but this definitely holds a bit more emotional weight.
Okay. Ronald?
I also agree that the Darth Maul fight is better. There are parts of this that are really awesome. There are parts of this fight where, like, you still get the, like, goose pimples, like, while you're watching them fight and watching them do shit. But there are also parts that are just dumb. Like Jordan said, when they're floating through the lava and like that, I don't understand why that was there at all. They could have literally just battled down to the edge of the lava, and then, Anakin could have been cut in pieces and burnt. But
sure. Okay. Good. I'm glad we kind of agree a little bit here. Originally, my stance was this is a terrible fight scene. That this is objectively, I get why it's good, or I get why people think it's good, but it objectively is a bad fight scene. I've changed my tone a little bit, and I've gone more of actually changing what it is that I mean. It's overrated fight scene. And it does a bad job of telling a story in choreography. The sequence and fighting itself is not conducive or good to telling the story that they are trying to tell. And there is a better scene in this movie that does a better job of telling the story they're trying to tell. And that's Yoda versus Palpatine in the Senate. That is a better fight scene when it comes to trying to tell the story through choreography than that fight itself.
Interesting.
Here's why. Jordan, strap in. Professional wrestling is the best form of storytelling.
Yeah, buddy.
When it comes to live action in like telling the story without having to do dialogue. Annie and Obi-Wan start essentially with promos, right? If you're not with me, then you're my enemy. Okay, then I have to do this. They cut it. At this point in time, Anakin is supposed to be unbelievably furious and angry and upset, and like he's allowing all that hatred and anger to flow through him. It's at this moment also that he realizes that this is when he has the most control over himself, is when he is this angry, when he knows that he is better than Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan is defeated. He is mad, he is angry, he just watched his brother essentially turn his back on him in this moment. What did they do? Flippy dippy bullshit. A bunch of dancey, flippy, like sword fighting, where the majority of the time they're not even actually making contact with each other.
Well, hang on. I would argue they actually do hit a lot harder than most Jedi do, because they're grabbing each other by the wrists and throwing each other down and flipping each other.
I'm getting there. But in the beginning sequence, in the beginning sequence, that's all they're doing. It's a lot of flash and pizzazz and hidden saber, kind of, but like a lot of twirling behind the back and spinning and flipping. And I just watched it and I said, why? Why are they doing that? That doesn't make any sense when you just built how angry and pissed off they are at each other. They would be brawling in the streets.
Let him talk.
They would be brawling in the streets if that was the case. Now, they do a good job here and there occasionally. The point where they both grab each other's like opposite hand and they go into like that Greco-Roman power struggle. Perfect example. Also put Anakin's Spartan kick, because that is actually a really good example of him using he is stronger than Obi-Wan. We all know this. He's younger, he's faster, he's stronger, right? Obi-Wan is that grizzled vet who just kind of knows more, and that's ultimately what is the reason why Anakin loses. But they just, the entire time, just being nonsensical with the flips and the spins, and like, it's Lucha Libre. It's a bunch of flips and stuff to get to the next part where they have to cut the next promo. And then they do a bunch of flippy dippy stuff to get to the next promo. So it's battle. Now we're upset with each other. Now we're going to talk. Battle. And a bunch of flips that don't actually matter, except for maybe one or two things here. And then we get to the end scene where they cut arguably one of the best promos of this entire trilogy, right? You were the chosen one. You were supposed to lead, not just,
destroy Sith, not join them.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring balance to the Force, not
bring balance to the Force. All the shit. Which is stupid. Okay, real quick. The whole like I have the high ground thing. They're at the same level. Does anybody else realize that? Like he's hovering and they're at the same.
It's a little higher. It's literally just a little higher.
It's stupid. And it's totally a bait. Like that was. I always took it as a bait. Yeah, is like, I'm gonna get you to jump, and then I'm so fucking done with you. And that was like such a beautiful aspect, right? So here's why the Senate scene between Palpatine and Yoda is a better fight scene.
Before you go there,
Yeah.
let's get some arguments against the
Sure.
other two.
I
think these two.
Yeah,
I
Ron
think
has
all
a
three of us
rebuttal.
will have
Sure.
something to say.
Okay,
Sure.
so one of the things that you, Chuck, are forgetting is
Yeah.
that Anakin is a drama queen. Okay? Anakin is the biggest drama queen in the galaxy, no less. And all the flash and flippy do and panache that he, has is because he is not only trying to one up Obi-Wan, he might be mad at him, but he's mad at him and still wants to show him that, I can beat you in the same way that I do everything else, which is doing it my style, and I will show you that I'm the best, greatest, most skilled dude, and you're just a little bitch. Because ultimately, Anakin is just a drama queen. Anything that Anakin can do to make himself stick out more, like for instance, if he would have defeated Obi-Wan by jumping over Obi-Wan in the same way that Obi-Wan defeated Maul after Qui-Gon's death, he would have been able to show Obi-Wan that he was better than him. Which is the whole reason why he tried to jump over him, was because he was like, hey, watch this, I can do the same thing that you did. And Obi-Wan's like, dude, I fucking initiated this shit, watch.
Yeah. Essentially, Seth Rollins beating Triple H with a pedigree.
Yeah, pretty much. I hear you on that. However, my counter to this is, then there's no reason why Obi-Wan should have been matching him. We see it with Grievous. What's the one thing that he uses to end up taking out Grievous? He changes his entire plans and grabs a blaster and shoots Grievous and ends it.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's because he lost his lightsaber and he had nothing else to do.
Yeah, but still, like, he is able to adapt to the abilities that the other person has and finds the counter to it. We have watched that time and time again throughout this series, is that Obi-Wan's really good at adaptability. So it does not make sense why he would have gone flip for flip, twirl for twirl against Anakin.
Because he didn't actually want to kill him.
Yep.
He said it himself when he talked to Yoda. Let me go up against the Emperor. I can't. Anakin's my brother. I love him. I can't.
Even to this point, Obi-Wan could have went up and just chopped his head off, but he decided to leave him there to die. It's kind of like Batman being like, "Well, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you." It's kind of the loophole he was trying to do. He's like, "Well, I didn't kill my brother, but here he is."
So like everything he's doing is just a counter to Anakin because he doesn't want to actually hurt him. And it wasn't until really the end when he is standing off and he finally realizes, I can't save him. And we get a lot of that in Obi-Wan, which we're not watching obviously, but in this movie here, he doesn't want to hurt his brother, but he got to the point where he didn't have a choice. When he jumped over him, he knew what he was doing. He knew, like Ron said, that Anakin was going to try the same move that he tried on Maul. So he stopped him first by disabling him, not killing him. He could have easily just sliced up and just chopped him in half, but he didn't. He chopped off his arms, he chopped off his legs, and then just let him be. He walked away because in his eyes, Anakin is going to die here. He's not going to come back.
Sure, I agree. And that's all explained in the dialogue at the end. That all happens after all of the flippy dippy stuff that doesn't make any sense for the tone of which that that they were angry at. It makes, we'll get into it, but in episode 6, I think they actually do a good job of when Luke just starts baseball batting with the lightsaber against Darth Vader in the final battle.
Sure, but Luke also has he doesn't have very good training either. He had 10 minutes with Obi-Wan before Obi-Wan got sacked.
Yeah, but they had a day or two on Dagobah.
But the point is,
a day or two.
The point is, if this is supposed to be the ultimate test, right? This is Anakin, full power, full emotion, full rage. He should be attacking like he's some type of feral beast, but he isn't. He's able to control himself. in this moment because this is his, like, he is only able to control himself. He is this angry and willing to do what he needs to do to protect Padme.
Like choke her out.
Right, exactly. Because he didn't kill her. It's fine. That's at least that's what that. Well, that's what the court. That's what the court would say.
I have a counter argument for why I think actually this is good storytelling in it.
Okay.
So I understand where you're like, I don't know why they start with the flippy dippy. Like he's angry, he's this and that. Imagine the timeline of this. At least what is shown to us in the movies. He's been a full day maybe on the dark side. That's it. So he's got 20 years of Jedi training of flippy dippy stuff. So what we're actually seeing is a pretty well told story of Anakin starting what he's used to, the style that he's been taught forever, and shaking it off as he moves along, and the anger becomes, and the dark side becomes more, getting more feral, getting more ground and pound, getting more brutal. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing him start and actually transitioning during this fight, not just in mind, but in his style of how he fights.
At what point in that fight does that actually happen?
I think it happens when they start just like kicking each other. They're literally just like kicking each other in the gut and like punching each other and throwing each other up on consoles and whatnot. And like,
so I don't I see what you're saying, and I can't necessarily argue, but I also think that at that point it's exhaustion. They're just, at this point, they realize they're so evenly matched with each other that they're just so beat and they don't know what else to do other than to just kick and punch.
But then
because when they do have the sabers clash and then they both use the force, they focus in on both of them, and you see sweat on both of them. They're both exhausted at that point. And then after that is when they traverse to the outside, out in front of the lava and everything. So yeah.
I feel like, though, if you look at it like you were saying with a wrestling match, right? Like they always start with kind of technical stuff, like you said. Like they're doing some like flippy moves, they're doing some holds, they're doing some this and that. Then there's the middle part where it's the ground and pound, the real like anger, and then they move to like the finishers, like the showstoppers and everything. And that's them like out, supposed to be them out on the thing, climbing around, going back and forth, this and that. Like that's supposed to be like that. Oh, they're on top of the Hell in the Cell, blah 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 blah. Like what's gonna happen?
Right. Thank you. You actually just proved my point. Okay. This is a goddamn blood feud. This is the third match. This is the blow off.
Yes.
They shouldn't be doing that technical stuff in this at that point. They should be grabbing each other's jerseys and punching their ever-loving teeth down their throats.
But they never had that initial fight. All three matches of a blood feud are happening in this one fight because the last time they were with each other, they were on good terms, they were friends, they were happy. And all of this happened when like Obi-Wan was off on injury list, and then he comes back running down the ramp, and now we see it. Like they didn't get to have that initial fight before all of this. So they start off with the like technical side of it. Then they get to the ground and pound. Then they get to the I'm out for blood moment. Like I'm ready to finish him off, put him in the casket, shut it, bury him.
Okay. I see what you're saying. And I 49% agree with you.
Yeah.
But
it's from a point of view.
To me, the first two matches were in the promos, like, you know what I mean, like in the dialogue, and
I'll say you could definitely the moment where Obi-Wan asks Anakin to spy on the Emperor, that could be one of them, because Anakin was really pissed off about that. And he did voice that.
But see, that's the dissension though before the turn. That's like
sure, yes, but that's what I'm saying is
the heel turn
that moment. Okay, look, I don't know wrestling terms.
Sure, but the heel turn happens.
I know what the heel is.
The heel turn happens, and the reason why it becomes a feud is because Anakin just watching him murdered a bunch of kids.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that is more than enough motivation, even if they've never touched before. They've done enough psychological things for us to now realize, holy shit, this is it. Someone's not walking away from this fight.
Sure.
And it was Anakin because he didn't have the leg.
Yeah, literally. Well, yeah.
I get where you're coming from, but I personally like the fact where they started with what we have seen before and they devolve into something a bit more rugged.
Right.
And I like that side, but I get that you're more like, no, just start rugged and keep getting more ground and pound as you go along.
Right. What I would have liked to have seen is the third part of the sequence there's no flip. There's no up and over. There's no hovering around each other and sword and lightsaber battle on droids floating through lava and stuff like that. I that's where the ground and pound needed to happen.
Yes, no, you know what needed to happen when they were floating through lava is one person used the force to throw lava on the other person, and then the fight was over.
Yeah, no, I think it would have been cooler if they were like just fighting regularly and like Obi-Wan got the upper hand because Anakin did something like prideful or egotistical, and he got like just like one leg down and then was able to like get like pretty much then chop all the body parts off just without this weird flip thing. I agree. I think that the flip thing is a little. I always like said the higher ground thing. I've always thought that's kind of corny, and watching it again, I'm just like every time I rewatch it, I do not like. It's
definitely become cornier over the years, but
the best part of that before the scene though, where I'm like, oh, it's on and it's so badass, is when Obi-Wan's like, I got to stop you then, and he's like, you will try. I'm like, oh, he's such a whiny bitch, but I love it.
All right, Chuck. So why do you think that the Emperor and Yoda fight is better?
Yeah. So Palpatine versus Yoda is such a better told story through the which is going to be a little hypocritical for me, but I'll explain how. It is a better fight scene in the context of telling the story through the fight sequence. So it opens, right? Palpatine has just done all the things. He's full ball sack face at this point, right? He's unlimited power at this point.
I have to admit, dude, that looks terrible.
Yeah, it still looks awful.
When they first transition him, like when Mace is like blocking the force lightning and his face starts to turn, like that whole scene right there looked like absolute dog shit.
I don't disagree, but it was 2005, and also it does make a little sense because like, have you ever seen like a fresh wounded like face and stuff? Like
no, I'm not saying like I'm not saying the texture. I'm saying like the actual transition itself just looked like dog shit. I have seen them do better transitions in like movies in the 70s and 80s and 90s than what they did with this.
Well,
the transition in all of the Indiana Jones from like a person to a skeleton is usually 100 times better, and that's the 70s and 80s. So I'm surprised that they didn't, because it's lightning burning him. I'm surprised they didn't have like burnt flesh, but instead of all the wrinkly thing. But that's just, they got to match up with what he looked like in Return of the Jedi. So
sure, but also, what 3 piece of shit Jedi did Mace Windu have with him at the beginning of that fight that literally went down like little fucking pansy ass bitches within the first 15 seconds?
That is just bad direction. That was bad filming. It's supposed to be that Palpatine was so quick that they didn't even see. They weren't expecting him. He took them by surprise. He was so quick they didn't see it coming.
The book goes into that, awful. And I love that.
It looks awful on the screen, though.
Does a really good job about that. But we're not talking about that right now.
Because Chuck's going to bring up a point now. The Emperor is like jumps all around and super fast and everything.
Right. So I'll get there. Yeah. So the scene opens. Palpatine's sitting there. He's very proud of himself. Order 66 is out. All that stuff, right? Everything is gone according to plan. And Yoda walks in, and he sets the entire tone for the story that they are trying to tell, right? By bodying these two motherfuckers at the gate with the Force, right? Just boom, smash, non-factor, gone, right? It's Bruh in WrestleMania 17, boom, non-factor. Okay, so, which is a very funny joke, just specifically to me, apparently. Okay, so he walks in. And Palpatine is just full of himself, right? He's full of arrogance. He did it. He figured it all out. But in the back of his brain, he knows that he can't beat Yoda. He knows that Yoda is stronger and faster and more attuned to like the good
and
side
his
of
hitbox is way smaller.
Right, and his hitbox is way smaller, but very like legitimately, like he just knows.
Which is why when Yoda pops in there and he jumps, the Emperor is trying to run out the door and Yoda jumps in front of him. Like he knows that.
He knows that. He tries to run, so he like then knocks him out, right? Like for a second or something.
Force lightnings or something.
Force lightnings or something. Because then Yoda is playing possum the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so like that's so telling, because the one weakness of Palpatine is his arrogance. That is the one thing that is going to be his downfall, as we all know.
3 times.
Literally. So they play possum. All of a sudden, boom, pops up, lightsaber fight in. Now, the flippy dippy stuff makes sense for the fight style. Yoda is a small guy, right? So him flipping around and bouncing around, that makes sense because that's part of his specific fight style. He is smaller. He is more agile.
In Revenge or
exactly.
Attack of the Clones. Yeah.
For him to actually hit anything lethal, he has to jump. He has to, if he wants a head or a torso or whatever, he literally has to jump to do it. I don't necessarily agree with Palpatine also doing the most insane, like up and down, like above his head, like sword flippy stuff, but obviously they're trying to set the tone that this is the new way that lightsaber fights are going to happen, right? So he goes up, they're on the elevator, it goes up into the Senate, they're battling. This is where it's the best part, because Palpatine knows he can't win a sword. He cannot win a lightsaber battle. He cannot do it against Yoda. Yoda is just
wants
too strong.
to do a gentleman's duel, but
exactly. So what does Palpatine do? He throws the fucking Senate at him. He does the one thing that he knows he is better at than Yoda, and that is launching as many of these damn seats as fast and as hard as he can, and he still can't beat him, and he knows he can't beat him because he just keeps throwing him, and Yoda just keeps dodging him, running away. I mean, again, a small hitbox, so you're using the biggest thing you can. Yeah, and then what is it? Finally, he thinks he's got him. Boom! Yoda is so damn strong that he catches the thing and starts spinning it, and even that look on Palpatine's face of like, oh shit, like. Now I'm screwed because he's about to launch this thing right back at me, and then launches it back. And it's not until the end where, like, I guess force lightning is like the one weakness, because that's kind of the one thing that the Sith have that the Jedi don't have, right?
Correct.
I mean, that's not necessarily true. Well, Yoda literally stops Dooku's force lightning in the previous show, catches it in his hand, and just like, is that all you got?
Force lightning is probably weaker than Palpatine's, because Palpatine, I always imagine, is like the creator of the force lightning move. Just like
Yoda uses force absorption, which is a different power, which is like the main thing. And it's also, if I remember the Star Wars RPG correct, force absorption is the way that they catch it with the lightsaber and doesn't cause the lightsaber to over explode, because the lightsaber is the extension of their ability of the force. So they're able to catch the lightning with the lightsaber, and that's why they've done that a couple of times throughout the series and stuff.
Yoda. I also would say that Yoda was caught off guard both times he got shocked with the force lightning.
Right.
First one, obviously, in Palpatine's room. The second one, he had literally just jumped up onto that seat when Palpatine shot at him, and that's when he lost his saber and then fell off.
Right.
So I would say he just got caught off guard. Otherwise, I think he would have caught it and been absorbed it and been okay.
I think to your point, Chuck, is that it was really good storytelling, because when they get into the Senate and Palpatine keeps jumping away and throwing it, every time Yoda jumps up, he turns on his lightsaber. Then he turns it off and has to go, and then turns it on. Like, he's ready. He's like, come on, you want to take me toe to toe? Let's go. Let's do this. And then finally he like puts it away and realizes, all right, this dude wants to play. I guess I'll just grab the thing and throw it back at him. If he's gonna play that.
Want to point.
He doesn't want to play Yoda's game. Like Yoda wants a fair fight. Yoda wants a fair gentleman's duel, and Palpatine is not that. No. Palpatine is a fucking heel, and he's a chicken shit heel at that, and he is absolutely going to do anything that he can to not have to have a fair fight against Yoda.
100%, because Yoda even says like, oh, if you're so powerful, like, let's go one-on-one, but like he can't do it. He's got to put the knucks on. He's got to get the ring bell. He's got to do anything he can.
Exactly.
Low blows, like anything.
He is literally doing Sabu chair throws, which is my favorite move in professional wrestling ever. He is launching chairs, like steel chairs at this dude. It's just nothing.
And also, you know that George Lucas thought he was so clever in thinking the metaphor if he's throwing the Senate at him.
Yeah.
Every time I watch this scene, I always think of Robot Chicken, because there's the one scene in Robot Chicken, like early on, season 1, where the Emperor is talking to somebody before he starts ordering food. And he's like, yeah, I threw the Senate at him. The whole Senate. And just starts laughing. Because
I mean, it's very clever. And I thoroughly it's the one time I actually enjoy a George Lucas joke. Like, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the storytelling in this is very good. I think there's little moments that happen, like you said, where I'm like, that's a great little insight into what they're thinking and why Yoda is fair and trying to fight and could essentially beat him on level playing field, and why the Palpatine is only in power because of his trickiness, right? Like, because he was in the shadows, because no one knew. If he were to be outright, he would have never made it. Every time he gets stopped whenever he's like actually in the light.
But that's the whole point of the Sith. That's the whole point of Rule of Two.
Sure,
is to hide until they gain enough power to overthrow.
But then you're not that powerful. If you can't beat them face to face, man, mano y mano, you're really not that powerful then.
But if you actually think about it, he really wasn't that powerful. He didn't stop the Jedi. He tricked and manipulated literally everything to go his way. He manipulated the clones. He manipulated Anakin. And he still, it even says that all of the remaining Jedi will be hunted down and killed when he's addressing the Senate. We all, like, I remember, obviously, because of the original trilogy, they told us all the Jedi were dead. The only ones left were Yoda, Obi-Wan, and then Luke became a Jedi. And then, obviously, eventually, we get Leia and stuff in the EU. So, in our minds, there's no Jedi around. Then we get, the Clone Wars and all of this other expanded universe stuff, where we've got a ton of Jedi around. They're just in hiding because
I argue that there's no longer Jedi because the way of the Jedi Order has kind of crumbled, and now these are just Force sensitive people who are doing their own like religious beliefs, because most of them don't believe in it.
They're 100% Ronins.
They became Ronins. Yeah. You got like Cal, you got Ahsoka, you got obviously now Sabine in Ahsoka the show.
What's the name of the dude who wrote his name in the way in the Obi-Wan, who was like smuggling all the people out? I always forget his name.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, that Jedi.
No, was it Quinlan? Was that Quinlan Vos?
Yeah, Quinlan Vos, yeah.
Yeah, so he left. He's part, there was in the comics a new Jedi literally every other week in those issues. So like, we're getting all these Jedi. Now, mind you, a lot of them do get killed off. Like Jocasta Nu gets killed off by Vader, I believe. Sometime after
Kanan Jarrus ends up dying, but then
he made it to Rebels. He made Ezra, and obviously Ezra. Like we do have more Jedi out there, or people who follow the Jedi way.
Needs to come
I think that's the super specific thing you have to point out here is like Jedi is a classification, right? There's Sith and then there's Jedi.
Yes.
There are just tons of people who could be either or both. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Because like they hunt down all the Jedi. Essentially, they're saying we're hunting down one classification of people. And if you don't want to be the Sith, because there's an entire Inquisition. You know what I mean? Like there's all those Inquisitors. They're all Force sensitive people. So
majority of them were actually, I think all of them were ex-Jedi. Jedi that survived that they then turned. So
exactly.
So how does that work with the Rule of Two, though?
The Rule of Two
they're not
now.
No, they aren't Sith. They're Inquisitors. They're different.
Correct.
It's different. The Rule of Two always stands that the Sith, again, classifications of Force-sensitive people.
But you could also argue that Dooku was training Asajj to be his number 2, but Asajj was working for both Dooku and Sidious. So,
and to be fair, the Rule of Two was created by Bane because Bane realized that everyone was so backstabby that you could never have more than 2 Sith without everyone just trying to kill it. Like it's a whole Othello situation going on, So I feel like that's the only reason they created. But let's be honest, they're not going to live by a rule. That's the whole point.
I would say, but the Rule of Two didn't work anyways, because the first thing that Vader says the first day he's been fucking turned into is like. Yeah, we can take out the Emperor and I can rule. I'm more powerful than everyone.
That is the Rule of Two. The Rule of Two is that the Sith Master trains his apprentice to one day rise up and take him out. And then that apprentice will become the master to get a new apprentice. That's what Darth Bane said in the books. That's what he had implemented. And there's plenty of times when he got his apprentice and he was really questioning if she was the right one because she never actually tried to fight him ever until that third book. And then we don't know.
Yeah, I need to go back and read those books.
The Darth Bane trilogy is amazing.
Yeah, I haven't read
never
those.
read any of those, so thanks for
so
all the
good.
spoilers. Dick.
I'll let you. You're welcome. I'll let you borrow them sometime. They're really good.
It's so follow-up question is Dooku's death part of the rule of two then?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, because Palpatine's essentially Palpatine's like, well, I'm not going to take Anakin until Dooku's out of the way. So he tests
right, because he says
Anakin.
it's a necessary death.
Yes,
like it was and I just assumed it was just for political sabotage. But I guess now I never realized. I kind of always forget that the rule of two is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense now.
Also,
yeah, because he wanted if Dooku had been powerful enough to take out Sidious, he would have. Because he was trying, but the whole time Palpatine is making that play for Anakin. He is grooming Anakin to be his right hand because he knew how powerful Anakin was at the age of 9 or 8, however old he was. Because in the comics, he's the one that created them. Yep.
Yeah. He knows. And so also, just since we're talking about Count Dooku's death real quick, I freaking love the sound design of when he's decapitated. The extra hiss they put in on the lightsaber. I'm just like, oh, that sounds, I don't know why, but it sounds so gnarly.
I'm also a little upset that he just sat there and just took it. Instead of saying, that's the Sith Lord.
Yeah.
I think he was taken by surprise. I think he was just shocked because he just got his hands cut off. And then he's like, wait, the dude just said, and then, too late.
Yeah. Well, now no. Because he looked at
too late.
And then looked at Anakin.
It took Anakin a long time to decide to cut his fucking head off.
Dooku thought that he was playing a game. Like, he wasn't going to actually let Anakin kill him, but he was, playing a game with Anakin. And so he's kind of, waiting to be like, oh, what trick are you pulling out of your sleeve right now? Not realizing
he's playing this trick. Do it.
Him on the chopping block.
Yeah. No.
Speaking of, so Palpatine being a shady fellow, I've always wondered this. I want to get your guys' opinions. During the opera scene when he's telling Anakin about Darth Plagueis and how he can control people, stop people from dying, can control life and everything. Do you think that he actually knows how to stop people from dying, or do you think he's lying to Anakin because he knows that's the one thing he needs to tell him to get him to come over to his side?
If I recall correctly, isn't he the one that makes Anakin think that Padme is dying?
No, he was dreaming it. He was having visions of it.
Because it was one possibility of the future. So, and we know that he can see. There's a cutout scene where supposedly we were supposed to find out that Count Dooku was the one who hired the Tusken Raiders to kill his mom, and that would have driven his anger a little bit more. Even that was supposed to be the reveal during that time, and why Anakin's okay with killing him is because Palpatine tells him oh, we found out that he hired the Tusken Raiders that killed your mom, and then that's what puts Anakin over the edge to be cool with killing him because it's a little bit of anger there. They took that out, but I think it's not in the book. It's just a deleted. Okay, it's deleted dialogue from the original script.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but to answer that question, I don't think he was implanting those visions. I think that Anakin runs off of fear, right? Myself being an anxiety-driven person, I always think worst case scenario in any situation. If I'm getting on a plane, I'm already thinking, what if this plane goes down, and deciding what I'm going to do in that scenario. I think
he's the fattest person I can land on.
Yeah. I think he's the same exact way though. He's always worried about okay, I've lost this. He's always worried about loss and being alone.
Speaking of losing things, which is completely unrelated to this, except for the fact that we were talking about the Palpatine Dooku fight.
Mm-hmm.
So after Obi-Wan gets knocked out, and Dooku pulls that fucking platform down, and it lands on Obi-Wan's legs, and then drags him across the floor. Yeah, how's he? Yeah, he just walks, and then he's just walking after Anakin drags him around unconscious for a bit.
Death all over. But anyway, I want to hear you guys' opinion if you think Palpatine was telling the truth or not.
Yeah, I think. So really, real quick, I will point out that there are so many signs that Palpatine is the big bad when he's literally telling Anakin everything And then
He
finally
does-
figures it out when he
does
Anakin's
such
an
a
idiot.
terrible
Tells him.
job in this movie, like trying to hide it or whatever. Because
Yeah,
for
no.
two movies,
because
he
he's
does
not trying to
actually
hide
like
it.
a really
He's not hiding it.
No,
I
Anakin's
know,
just
but,
too
like-
dense to understand till way
Yeah.
later.
Yes.
like
See,
yeah,
that's
it's
another
like
thing though. The Anakin that we get in this, like before I watched Clone Wars, like the TV show or whatever, this Anakin, like, was whatever. But after watching that, he had to devolve to become the Anakin that's in this movie.
Mhm.
Which,
yeah.
but if you factor in the fact of all of his trauma going on, if you factor in the Mortis stuff, because that was a big weight on his shoulders, Ahsoka leaving, basically the Jedi Order kind of coming to him, like literally everything is just piling on him, and he's stressed to the max.
Yeah.
And now on top of that, his wife is dying. And he's trying to save her. Like
He forgot
literally
to
everything's
refill
on
his
top of him.
Xanax
So no,
prescription too on top
when
of it.
she tells him that she's pregnant, is it just me because I know that he kills the younglings later, or does he get this like little gleam in his eye, like I could just murder the kid?
No,
yeah, that dude did
confused.
not want to be a dad. Like
Not at
all. He
all.
wanted to be a dad.
Yeah,
He was like,
was
I
like-
don't know.
okay.
Yeah, he
I
was
don't know
ready
how
to
late
murk
stage
this
abortion
kid.
works, but
I was gonna say he's what Christians think pro-lifers are like. Ooh, a child. I'm so ready to kill
love
him.
Okay, so to answer
Or
your question,
pro-choice. Sorry, not pro-lifers, pro-choice.
I knew what you meant. To answer your question, no, because he even says it when he, dubs him Darth Vader. There was only one who knew the power to cheat death, and together we should be able to find it.
Oh, he's saying that we'll figure it out together.
Yes,
Okay. That
But-
makes more sense.
because
we also know
yeah,
that
he-
Jedi have healing powers.
Well, some.
They do
Not all.
technically have healing powers.
we don't technically see that until
Yeah,
after Return of the Jedi.
another
but-
retcon.
I mean, Force heal was a thing in all the video games. Like
Was it?
it was very much a thing.
Sure, but that's
Okay.
a mechanic that has to be there for video games.
No, but it became
those are
canon.
canon
Like, it
video
was
games,
always a
okay?
thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well,
That's true.
some of them
No,
are.
that makes more sense that he's not necessarily. I see what you're saying. He's saying like, hey, I've seen this happen. We can figure it out together. And Anakin knows the Jedi are not like they have no connection to people. So the Jedi are kind of like, that's nature. Your wife's gonna die. We're not gonna step in and do anything. So he's like, well, if you're not gonna help me,
Correct.
I'm gonna.
Well,
go
I
to
mean,
the guy
Yoda
who's gonna help
literally
me.
told him that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, but no, I don't think. I definitely don't think he knew it. Just
Yeah.
that he was going to be able to find it later.
Can I tell you my favorite part of this whole movie? And I want to see if anyone else actually thinks this is a cool moment. But like every time I see it, I'm just like, coolest moment in the whole prequel trilogy is when Obi-Wan and Yoda are going back to the Jedi Temple and they're fighting their way through the clone troopers, and Yoda just chucks the lightsaber through the dude's chest, jumps up and pulls it out and keeps going. I was like, Lord of the Rings type of
Hell yeah.
badassery going on. I was like, this is so good.
Yeah, Yoda's Gandalf at this point. Like you just pull
Yes.
Gandalf the White, not even caring, just murdering
Boom,
people,
just taking
for no
them
reason.
out. I'm like, badass. I love that. That's my favorite
it.
scene in the whole movie.
Let's see here. What else do we have?
So at the beginning of the movie,
I
like,
definitely. Okay.
Oh.
No, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. At the
You
very
got it.
beginning of the movie, when you get the ships flying out in space, at first I thought I turned on the wrong thing because it looks like the fucking ships right out of the Clone Wars TV series. Like they were so either really well done in the series or so poorly done at the beginning of this movie that they look the same.
Well done in the series, I think.
I think that too, but also I actually really like the space battle at the beginning because it reminds me a lot of Endor, the Battle Above Endor, which is my all-time favorite movie of the series when I was a kid. Favorite part of the whole thing was the Battle of Endor, and it kind of reminds me a bit of that because there's just so many ships going on. But I'm curious to see when I go back and watch Return of the Jedi, and after having watched this so closely, I think I'm going to like Endor more because the practical look of it is just going to be so much cooler, I think. Even though there's a lot more flashiness going on in the Coruscant battle here, I still think Endor is going to edge it out.
I will give the CGI in this movie about 80% credit because there were definitely some scenes that were not great.
Iffy.
But compared to Phantom Menace, which actually did a lot of practical in Phantom Menace, but still having a shit ton of CGI, and Attack the Clones that had a ton of CGI, the CGI here was really good. I really liked the CGI in this movie.
There were just a few moments though that were not good. Like there's some Mustafar moments.
No, there was.
There were some moments in Grievous's thing when they're fighting Dooku, like we talked about Obi-Wan getting crushed, or like when Dooku jumps over. The problem was they definitely got better than the previous movies, but they still weren't where I remember them being when I was younger.
Agreed.
Well,
Agreed.
not to mention a lot of the stuff that they used CGI for, they could have used practical for and done just a better job.
Like all the clone troopers. Why?
Yeah, the clone troopers still look like garbage.
Because they're all CGI. Why are we not having practical people in suits at this point? Like, at least some of them.
I don't remember them, like you say, Jordan. I don't remember them looking that bad.
No,
like I remember them looking like they were regular practical suits.
Yeah, there were moments where I was like, "Oh man, that still does not look great." Like I thought we were past this point.
Speaking of Kashyyyk, there was no reason to put Chewbacca in this movie, right?
I agree
100%. The minute that happened again, I'm like, I hate this so much. A cameo for no reason.
Like, there's no reason for it. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I don't like it.
They never explain it. It doesn't lead to anything.
They should have had the name of one of them being the guy from the Holiday movie. Would have been a funny little cameo, but also like most people wouldn't have gotten. Well, okay. I mean his dad or whatever.
Yeah, but like you could just have
watching porn.
You can just have Wookiees. You could just do Wookiees, and everybody be like, "Oh, Chewbacca!" Like, "Oh shit, we're like actually seeing like a planet of Chewbacca's." That's all we needed. We were just kids. We didn't need Chewbacca in this movie.
I agree. My counterpoint, though, is we do know that Chewbacca was captured by the Empire and was working to build the Death Star. We see that in Solo. So I would say that having him on Kashyyyk leads credence to him being captured and
but we already know he's there. Like they've told us that in multiple other things. We don't need to actually see it at this point.
Again, I agree. I'm just out.
And also, what are the odds that Chewbacca is such a great Wookiee in his own society that he's going to be right there with the Jedi and the leader of the Wookiees?
100% because we have a whole holiday special where he's trying to get home.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Holiday special's not canon though.
It'll
always be headcanon to me.
It's part of it is though. That's the thing. Because
after watching some of this, I thought about having a headcanon. Oh.
I mean, it's where we got Boba Fett for the first time. So
exactly, and that Boba Fett scene is on Disney Plus, which makes that canon, which means the holiday special's canon.
And wasn't that supposed to be a mythosaur he was riding in that original?
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, mythosaur
is what it was.
Speaking of wanting to put a bullet in my head, anytime that there is romantic dialogue between Anakin and Padme, whoever wrote that shit has never felt the touch of a woman.
Yes, I was gonna say
that's no way to talk about George Lucas. Okay,
he actually has like. Did you guys see George Lucas's cameo in this movie?
He's in the opera scene, right?
In the what?
The opera scene, right?
Yes.
He's in the background. Him and Anthony Daniels are there. Anthony Daniels is outside the C-3PO suit in the background of that scene as well.
Okay. Well, okay. I just know that he is standing. He's blue, and he's standing with another blue person when Anakin runs in. So I didn't see Anthony Daniels, but
no, I think Anthony Daniels is the other blue person. I think they're both.
I didn't even realize they were part of the Blue Man Group.
Well,
it was just a trivia thing I read. I couldn't tell because I couldn't actually confirm with my eyes.
Because I thought it was a female that he was talking to.
Maybe it was.
But,
I just read he was in the background of that scene somewhere.
He might have been. He still might have been. I was going to say. Oh, speaking of Padme,
why does she sleep fully clothed? Yes, I agree.
Well, that. But I also felt her character got dumbed down for this movie, which really sucked, considering she was such a badass in the first two. And I said that to Emily, and she's like, "Yeah, that's what they do when a woman is pregnant. They make her terrible." I'm like, "Ooh, okay, fair point."
Well, not to mention that, throughout the whole Clone Wars series, she's a fucking badass.
Yep.
And then they just turn her into this little bitch that's like.
She relied on Anakin the entire time.
Yeah.
And it sucked. Didn't like that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. She.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of par for the course for most George Lucas writing a woman thing. Is he somehow makes a really good, really good, compelling, powerful character in the beginning, and by the end of the trilogy is just this like feeble womp like woman who's just love addicty to this absolute asshole of a human being.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens to Leia in episode
Mhm.
6. Like, she kind of just
But she
becomes
still-
this like dork.
I'd argue that she still kind of fends for herself because she gets lost in the forest and still finds her way back. She still like fights and she saves Han Solo in that troopers there. Like I think they do dumb her down a
Sure,
little
but
bit
that's
with
like
the love.
that's also like the first half-ish of the movie. It's
No,
the second
that's
half.
the Battle of Endor.
That's the very end of the movie. That's like
Yeah.
the last
Is
20
it?
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they're trying to get into the base to blow it up to get the shields down, and she gets shot, and Han is hovering over her, and there's a guard right behind her.
Yeah, okay. It's been
I'd
a while
argue
since
Leia's the only reason
kind
the
of forget
whole
where things fall in that movie.
That's
yeah,
fair.
I'd argue
We're
Leia's the
gonna
only
watch it in,
reason
like,
the
5
Battle
months.
of Endor worked.
I would argue that the
No, because
The-
she's the one who
the-
found the Ewoks. She's
yeah,
the one
well, I
who
would say
created
the
the bond with them.
Ewok ones that kind of made the Battle of Endor work.
Yeah, but
That-
I just mean they would have never.
It's
helped
at the
fight if it
end
wasn't
when they're
for
all sitting around the
Yeah.
campfire and she's just like hugging an Ewok, and I'm just like, what happened here? What are we doing?
They're celebrating.
Oh, it's because she found out that she almost made an incestuous mistake.
She's drinking her shovels away, and she had the beer goggles on.
Yeah.
Ewoks look pretty good after 12 drinks.
I will
fair.
say I
Makes furries
do-
canon.
I think that Mace Windu survived
I think we're
because
give
there
it
are
enough
so
time, we
many
will definitely
people-
see that. Yeah,
I think so, because there have been so many people who've fallen from a height that high and survived. So I
Also,
think
let's
I
He
be
think
got
honest,
Mace
launched
survived.
out of that like a cannon. What are you talking
here's
about?
the thing: Samuel L. Jackson gets whatever he wants. So just the
That's-
minute he's
yeah,
done with
listen,
the
I know
he's
he
gonna be
is-
back in Star Wars.
It's only an inevitable time where he makes some sort of like I'm half
Pitch to
robot
Disney.
cameo. You know what I would love? Oh shit! I
If he
just
would
thought
have been flying out the window and yelled "motherfucker" the whole way down.
about- Actually, yeah. Riley, this motherfucking Sith. This motherfucking Senate.
yeah.
What I would love to see is him come back now as a Sith because he's like he is like Vader. He's just majority robot now because they had to put him back together. He splatted on the ground, and he's like under their control, kind of like how like they do with like Terminator, but like reverse. I think would be super rad. And there's like I don't know Kenobi season 2 or
I'll
whatever,
say, if
where,
we ever get a Kenobi season
Yeah.
2, that might be possible.
Yeah.
where they send Mace Windu robot android murder machine after
That
to like
would be-
hunt him down.
So when
That would be
that
kinda
happens,
fun.
we'll know it was Chuck's idea and they stole it from our show.
Hey, we
100%.
already know that they listen to us and take stuff off of streaming services, right?
Yeah, that's true. They do that.
All right.
I was waiting to have to pay for this movie. I'm surprised I didn't.
Save that $4
luckily
this
we
week.
luckily
Speaking
we
of
should
Mace
never
Windu,
have
though,
to pay for that.
what the
He's a
fuck
jackass.
took Mace Windu so long to get from when he left Anakin at the temple to Palpatine's chambers? Like,
There's
was
a bunch of
rush hour.
fires. Yeah, there we go. We'll go with that.
Yeah,
Do
to go
what?
get the other
It was
guys.
rush
You had to go
hour.
get the other guys.
Or Shower in Coruscant, you know?
sure, right. But then Anakin gets there in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, because he waited till rush hour was over.
Because he has the ability to teleport. We see that in episode 9 or whatever, when they can just jump through space and time. Anakin's the first one to do it. They just didn't put it on screen yet. I have a question about Mace Windu's role. So I know that like the lightsaber colors are indications of like their roles, kind of like blue are knights, green are masters, yellows are sentinels. I
Aren't they
forget what that
guards?
actually.
I think they're guards.
Yeah, like sentinel guards or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Which like how come I never see a yellow lightsaber, I feel like.
Well,
It
you
was
don't in the
only
movies because we
Rey-
never actually go into the areas that guards like they're the Praetorian guards of the Jedi Order, essentially.
okay.
I
Dumb.
know.
So if we
in
would have saw
Clone-
them actually storming the whole temple, you would have been able to see those guards.
Yes. Hmm.
I thought
Mm.
did Ahsoka get yellow or did she get white?
She's
there at the
white.
end.
White.
Okay. Rey does get yellow
Mhm.
at the end of Rise of Skywalker, so we will see that at some point.
It's kind of like it's your color is almost indicative of what like your personality trait, right? Like Rey, because she's like a caring healer and knowledgeable person, she gets yellow because that's like what the guards were. We're like green or like the brash kind of like rebellious a little bit, go against the system. Blue are like the kind of just like basic like Jedi Knights who believe everything, and then purple is for the one black guy in the universe.
Well, so like
I also
I know
feel
that's the thing is that like Samuel L. Jackson was like, I want a purple lightsaber.
Mhm.
Give me a purple lightsaber. I get what I want.
Canonically, they say that he gets a purple one because he has trained in the dark side
Mm.
and he has understanding of the dark side abilities.
So it
So like
goes-
therefore,
purple and red together,
yeah, red
It's
and
blue and red make purple, but yeah.
or what did I say? Purple and red? Yeah, blue and red.
Okay, I could buy that a little bit. If like when he was building it with the kyber crystal, there was a bit of like dark side energy in there, but not enough to go full red. I could buy that a little bit.
I guess I can understand because like Palpatine does kind of make sense when he was like, look, if you want to learn all the ways of the Force, you do have to kind of like learn the other side. Like if you're Sith, you do have to kind of learn the Jedi side. If you are a Jedi, you do need to learn a little bit of the Sith to fully understand it, right? You have to immerse yourself in this thing. So I guess I get that, and I guess I can understand. But I guess what is Mace Windu's occupation then? Is he like a detective? Is he like their version of an inquisitor?
No, he's
I
just
think he's
head
like
of the council.
head of the council. He's an idiot because he made the worst decisions ever, and not just including with Anakin, just really the worst decisions ever. But yeah,
I'd argue in this movie though that Anakin does bring balance to the Force because we have this one-sided group of people that are very large that are just grabbing children from their homes and teaching them a very dogmatic and blind way of thinking. And I think that this is actually bringing balance to the Force by wiping most of them out because they've gotten too big. It's literally
Agreed.
like the Spanish
Yeah.
Catholic Church going into Mexico and killing everyone in the name of the Lord, right? Like this is the same thing. They're like, okay, it's whatever we decide to do is good because we have the Force on our side. And I'm like, no, there's too much indoctrination that's gone on over thousands of years.
100%.
So this really is the balance that's coming. It's just not the balance they're thinking because they view themselves as so much higher than all other people.
Their idea of balance is that only the good exist. And for there to
Exactly.
be true balance, you do need that level because good people with power become bad people. Like
Mhm.
that is without question. They literally proved that in this movie.
Mhm.
yes.
Like the Jedi become too powerful in government positions, which is what they were never supposed to be. They were never supposed to be involved in that way, and they became too powerful. They were all over the place. Their influence was everywhere. They were on this like galactic crusade to help the Republic and this and everything else. Yeah, they needed to get checked like real hard. They thought that they were like invincible.
Unstoppable. Yes.
Yeah. And then they got absolutely fucking wrecked.
Yes. They got brought down a peg pretty dang quick.
So,
Okay.
clone troopers. Order 66, like a sleeper cell? Were they programmed
Yeah, it's a
this
program.
entire time?
There's
Okay.
a chip in their head, and that you see that in the Clone Wars.
Mhm.
There's a chip in their head
Okay.
that once the order's given, they just
And
can't
you
stop.
see there are
You're
some
talking Clone Wars, the series?
series.
yeah.
Because
Oh, that doesn't count. We
season-
don't cover series, Joe. We don't cover series, so that doesn't count.
No, we're
Doesn't
talking
happen in
about
the movie.
Star Wars.
Doesn't happen in the
canon.
movie, so it doesn't count. You screamed at me. You screamed at me about the 2D because the 2D is way better. I'm gonna throw it right back in your face. We talked about this.
I was very tempted to mute you. I really was, but I wanted you to go. All right. I've got one last thing. Does anybody else have anything else?
I
they
only
wanna
have
talk
one
about?
last thing I want to mention too.
Okay. Ron, you probably have a lot because that's just how you are.
Oh, I've got a lot of stuff, yeah, but we can cover your guys' stuff first.
Well, I'm only saying we have to start wrapping up here because
Oh, okay.
Again, we're
Well,
on
let me
time
start
crunch.
then.
Yeah, some idiot's got to go.
Obi-Wan is possibly the worst Jedi pilot I've ever seen.
Yeah, but he says he doesn't
Despite-
like flying.
Yeah.
True,
Leave
but
the flying
he
to the
should
droids.
still
He
have-
literally said that.
he should still have enough force sensitivity to be able to at least properly steer his ship.
Eh.
when they are on the ship of Grievous, and he gives R2 the comm. Why the fuck did R2 just leave that motherfucking thing on
speaker mode? Who knows?
Yeah,
because R2's just quirky and fun and living life, man. He's never worried about anyone around him.
I think it was College Humor does things of like how R2D2 saved the universe and then how R2D almost nearly destroys the universe. Like there's like 2 videos. It's very funny.
I love it.
How did nobody else see Palpatine not worried about anything at all when he was captured and think that was okay?
Well, because he's a politician that can control his emotions.
Well, sure.
But that goes with a lot of the signs that he just, at this point, he didn't care. He was in the end game.
Well, okay, but he literally says to Anakin at one point in time, all who gain power don't want to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
But Anakin, being the fucking weak-minded piece of shit that he is, doesn't see that for what it is. Obviously, this is the dude that's got the power that's not wanting to let it go. And it's
all the signs are there. Anakin doesn't see it because he's an idiot.
I feel, or like Palpatine's testing the blind spot that Anakin has for Palpatine to be like, no, see, he fully trusts me, so I can lay the bomb on him that like I'm a Sith Lord, we can help him, and he'll believe me.
Yeah,
sure. Also, during the Grievous fight, when he actually gets killed, who the fuck tries to kill a fucking metal fucking exoskeleton creature? Like Obi-Wan tries to,
by punching him or kicking him, like Obi-Wan.
He kicks him, and then he's like, oh, my foot. It's like, what the fuck did you think was gonna happen when you kicked a fucking steel case fucking
impulsively
heart?
Doing what he would normally do for another fight, and then forgot this dude's made of metal.
I would have liked it if they did a callback to that later against Annie when he goes to kick him. It's like, oh, I broke my toe. I forgot. Like,
it's been great.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Obi-Wan and like Aragorn are the same thing. Like in this movie, like they're both just kind of idiots who just happen to be able to like kind of fight.
They're meatheads.
But see, that's where you're wrong. Because Aragorn is not an idiot. All right, he's not.
Well, we'll see.
I don't know. Aragorn has a history of violence.
He's kind of oh my gosh. I actually get that now because I know I just listened to your episode of the Hulk and what you're doing there.
Yeah, well, that's coming out this week. This week.
Jordan sees what you did there.
I see what you did there. I'm a fan. I listen.
Rod, you got anything else?
Obi-Wan was really trying his hardest not to find Anakin, like when he was sent to go find him and take care of him. And I honestly think he was just trying to bang Padme.
I mean, probably.
Like,
Padme chose Anakin over Ewan McGregor. Like, come on, what was he think? What was she thinking?
Yeah, no one would do that. That's the most unrealistic thing in this whole movie,
right?
I just feel like Padme really wanted a dad. Like she just like clings to like anybody who was like a father figure. It was weird.
Which again, we would have gotten her family in Attack of the Clones, but they cut those scenes for whatever reason. We do see them at the funeral there at the end
because we don't care about women in movies.
Apparently not.
George Lucas doesn't care about women. That's the extent of it.
That's why.
It's like because he writes Leia so well. Like Leia is.
I think he.
I was telling my partner about it. Like because she's never seen Star Wars.
Oh.
And she was like, isn't like Leia like isn't she sexy or something like that? And I was like, well, yeah, in episode 6 with the gold bikini, like that's the time. But like up to that point, like they use that because she was talking about how she doesn't like the sexualization of it or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but it plays to the story. It's like we had this really strong, powerful woman, and now she is being subjugated to this like slave.
Yes,
like sex.
Jabba is degrading her by putting her in this position.
Yeah, like 100%. On purpose.
Yes.
So like I had to explain it out. It was like thinking back to it, I was like, yeah, Leia's a really good fucking female character. Like they did an amazing job of building it, and I really wonder if a lot of that was just Carrie. Like Carrie,
I'd argue it's not George Lucas. It was Carrie Fisher. Who...
also, George may have written Empire and Revenge, but there was those two were directed by different people, so
Sure.
Kasdan,
that
right?
helps too.
Kasdan did Empire, I
Did he?
think.
Did
I
he?
can't remember. We'll get there.
We'll get to there.
Yeah.
We'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah.
So Ron, you got anything else? Or are you good?
Let's see. My last note
Okay.
is just the fact that again reiterating that throughout the Clone Wars series, we got these really well developed characters, and they had a lot of backstory and insight and
Mm-hmm.
character development and growth. And then going back and watching this movie where they lose everything that they gained from that whole series
Mhm.
is a little
You do have to
disappointing.
keep in mind that the series came out after.
I was just gonna say, didn't that come out after where
Sure.
everybody
Yeah,
complained that they wanted story development? So that's
It's
why they have
Revisionist
this?
history, though, and it doesn't work. Like
that- But that's Star Wars. That's everything
It's
Star
true.
Wars does.
Every
Like,
single Star Wars ever after the
Yes.
first three.
yeah, it comes back and they expand
because they
on the
never
Star
think
Wars.
far enough ahead. They kind of plan a little
Correct.
bit, but not that much.
Yeah. Jordan, what's your last thing?
My last thing is I just really like the moment when Obi-Wan confronts Grievous, and it's like the Indiana Jones moment where like the guards are about to fight him 3-on-1, and he just drops the thing on him, and he's like, "I don't have time for this." I thought that was kind of a fun
Yeah.
moment.
Chuck, you got anything else?
The only other note I had was Grievous like Ang Lee hulks throughout that entire fight scene and changes size for no reason, and it's like really weird and doesn't make any sense.
It does actually, doesn't they?
Yeah, like compared to like when he's like in the beginning when they first introduce him to like the end, his size drastically goes down. He's like gigantic.
So see, what happens is he goes from being the adult Hulk to being the old man Hulk, and he's slowly losing his.
I would argue that when he got thrown into space, space crushed him a little bit.
That sounds great.
He lost a few inches.
It's canon. I said it.
It was cold out there. Of course, he lost a few inches.
I also am very disappointed with that whole fight scene. I think that they did an okay job at it. That fucking lizard needed to shut the hell up, though.
100%.
Yeah, like that was too much. But I liked where it was going. I thought it was interesting.
Here's what I don't get though. We saw, and I assume that Mace Windu was like, "Hey, by the way, dude, all you have to do is crush that bitch, and then he's nothing." Why didn't they use more force on him? He didn't have force sensitivity. He wasn't force immune, obviously. Like Obi-Wan could have just picked him up, fucking shook the shit out of him like a fucking, rat terrier with a fucking mouse, and then like,
it's the argument of why didn't Frodo just
isn't...
fly to Mordor?
Yeah, exactly.
It's that same thing. It's like
because they couldn't fly to Mordor because that would draw attention to them, and then the ring would never get where it's supposed to go.
Unless you like started a battle on the other side of Mordor as a distraction, kind of like what they did, and just do it from the beginning instead of letting so many people die. But I digress.
Because you got to bring balance to the Force, I think, or something like that. Like, so you gotta have a bunch of good men die first.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Look, they did it so they could prove Boromir wrong. That you, in fact, can simply walk into Mordor.
Yes, exactly.
Are we covering Lord of the Rings now? Like,
we should. Let's do that.
Like you have to at this point.
It's not on the list.
There's a comic about it. I feel like it should be on that list.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so it doesn't exist. So my last
we watched Buckaroo Banzai, motherfucker.
There's a comic of that. Anyway, my final note is they took Luke to Tatooine, Anakin's home planet, gave him Anakin's last name, and then was surprised. I mean, I guess it worked out because
hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, but like,
well, you also have to remember though that there's sand all over the place. Vader's not going to go there. He hates sand.
Yeah, Palpatine would go there. He could go there.
Palpatine
out the rim. So
and they got a bunch of Inquisitors that would go there.
Yeah, exactly. And they all knew who Skywalker was.
I still think that Skywalker is like the Smith or Johnson name.
I was gonna say it's probably the Smith or Johnson of the Star Wars universe. Everybody's got that last name.
It must be. All right. So that being said, we've got to get going here. So let's go ahead and do our ending stuff. I do kill count first, don't I? Yeah. Kill count is 142, and I guarantee I missed some because there's a lot of people dying.
How'd you figure that?
142?
Yeah. Order 66 is one kill. What are you talking about?
No,
It's a bunch of different
it's
attacks.
one call. It's one
I
call.
forgot
It
we were gonna
counts.
have the argument. No,
It's one kill.
it
They give
is
the order
an
out, and
order.
everybody blasts at the same time.
No, they don't.
But they don't.
They all blast differently because
No,
and you
that's
can
how they
argue.
have to show it.
No,
He calls each commander separately. Because he says
Exactly.
Commander Cody.
Yeah.
and then
Order
the next time you see
66.
it's all separate kills. If you want to go that route, if you want to start there, it was already like 130 by the time we get to Order 66, so you can go fuck off.
It's one kill.
Fuck you. Yeah. So Jordan, who's got a bad feeling?
Obi-Wan has the bad feeling right before they enter Grievous's ship.
Yeah. So right there in the beginning.
I heard him finally say, "I go, oh, there it is."
About this.
Oh yeah, they do it in every movie.
I'm really surprised that the Clone Wars movie didn't have anybody say that, but I guess
agree.
it kind of makes sense. Yeah. Ron, bingo.
All right. So we have fight for control of something.
That's a first.
Hero kills, obviously, betrayal by a friend, rejecting destiny, unexplainable science, a monologue, and a cameo.
Okay. Chuck,
All right.
Spawn Cape, continue.
Okay, I think this holds up better than like episode 2. Attack of the Clones looks atrocious.
Mhm.
This looks better. I actually thought that the opening scene actually looked really good. I actually didn't. I was watching. I was like, oh wow, this actually looks really nice. But there's still some rubber aspects. Again, Obi-Wan getting crushed by that platform was just rough and didn't look good. I'm gonna say like 7 out of 4. 7 out of 12 Spawn Capes. It holds up. I think the majority of the movie still actually looks good, but the clone troopers look terrible.
Mhm.
Obi-Wan getting crushed looked terrible, but like then the lava looked pretty rad. You know what I mean? Like that whole scene looked super
Except
good.
for where the lava was around the platforms that they were on, in
Yeah,
which case
the
it looked like
lava was-
absolute garbage.
The lava was
Sure,
a
but
composition of
it's right.
actual lava flow that they put into the movie. Like they actually filmed lava flow from a Hawaiian island and composed
Right.
that into the movie. So
Which, just because it popped back in my brain, at one point when they were flying on the droid platform thing, there's just 2 dudes doing something in the
Yes,
middle of
they're
it.
working.
And I'm just like, what are they
They're
doing? Like, can you imagine just like watching 2
They're
motherfuckers
shoveling
fly
lava.
through? It's like, why? What?
Yeah.
OSHA would never approve of this. Like,
Nope.
what is happening?
OSHA doesn't
Meanwhile,
work in the other room.
Meanwhile, those 2 dudes are just like gathering lava and doing whatever it is. That entire plant is melting to the ground, and they don't seem at all worried about it.
it's just a
Like this
regular
is a
Tuesday.
common occurrence. Like, oh, there goes,
Chuck, have you never
can't
been at
see
work?
again.
My
I mean,
work melts down at least once a week.
Exactly.
Listen, I worked for Sodexo. I had chip time when everything was like hitting the fan. We're just like, well, I guess it's chip time because this place is going to shit. So
I love it. All right.
Ate a lot
So,
of chips.
lost limb count. We've got a total of 8. We've got 2 hands that Dooku loses, 2 hands that Grievous loses, 1 hand that Mace loses, 2 legs, and 1 hand that Anakin loses.
Ridiculous.
What about Dooku's head?
That's not a limb. That's just an extension.
Appendage.
Appendage. There we go. Thank you.
Depends on how you use it, but whatever. Okay.
Well, he wasn't. So otherwise, he would have told Anakin that Palpatine was a Sith. So
See,
on to our score.
I disagree.
What?
I think I don't know. I disagree. I think Dooku knew the assignment.
He did.
I-
No, he 100% did.
Yeah, he knew what was going on, and
He
that
died
he
for the
needed
cause.
to die. Yeah, exactly. He knew what he was
Yeah.
doing.
Maybe he was
Alright.
just sick of dealing with Palpatine shit and was like, fuck this, why not?
I'm
What a
out.
way to go out, right?
I mean, if you follow the Clone Wars logic, Palpatine made him try and kill Asajj, his own apprentice, because she was worthless to him or didn't do what she was supposed to. So, he took all this time training her and had to then kill her, and he wasn't really happy with that.
Right.
None of
Anyways,
that, but,
Jordan,
like-
what's your score?
My score?
Yeah, go with you. You first, Jordan.
7.5. I was probably going to give it a little bit higher if I hadn't watched it, but rewatching it, some of the CGI didn't hold up and dialogue was bad, so I dropped it down like a point or a half a point. So 7.5.
Chuck?
Is this a Star Wars movie? Yeah, it's a Star Wars movie. I think this is the best of the trilogy. Not even, and it's like by a country mile is better than the other two. I still think that like Yoda versus Palpatine is probably my favorite fight scene. Going back and rewatching it, though, I do agree that like Maul is objectively probably better and does actually tell a really good story. But there's enough in this. I can even get past the poor acting. You know what I mean? Like the silliness, like I've come to accept it. And when you kind of like read the like, well, you know, he had to control himself and this and everything else. I'm going to say 6.3. Like I still like this movie and I would rather watch this one over and over again than watch any of the other two.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
I still think Order 66 is a really heart-wrenching scene. Like it is so.
The more we get in all other media, it's just it gets worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
And
hey, Chuck, have you watched the Clone Wars series?
I started it. I think I got 3 episodes in, and then I just kind of fell off.
All right. Well, whenever you get around to it and you get to the Order 66,
that's in season 7.
With Ahsoka, that's something right there.
Yeah, that is.
But anyway.
Ron, what you got?
I gave it a 5.8. Again, like Chuck said, this was actually the best movie of this trilogy, which is like, you know, beating your kids up at Mario Kart. But it was still a better, you know, there's some good parts to it. There's some fun parts to it. There's some humorous parts to it. I still say hello there to people all the fucking time. So.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that this movie does suffer from being memed to hell.
Yeah.
Like it, and so, but like, I don't know. I guess it did help it a little bit.
At work, I want someone to do something. I always go, do it.
One of the best memes that came out of this, though, actually has part of the Attack of the Clones in it, and that's where Padme falls out of the transporter, and Obi-Wan's like, "Remember your training," and Anakin's like, "I've got the high ground, Padme. You can't win."
That's actually from just from trilogy, yeah. I love this movie. This, like all of you, is my favorite of this trilogy. It is easily top 4, sometimes even top 3 of all the Star Wars movies for me.
Again, that's like beating your kids and their friends at Mario Kart.
Exactly.
But anyway,
which is, I mean, I love it. This is a great movie.
I love beating my kids at Mario Kart too, but
I love beating your kids at Mario Kart as well.
Really glad you said Mario Kart there, Joe. I'm just saying.
Look, I threw a giant snowball at one of his kids' heads.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he tried to kill one of my kids with a snowball that was the size of the bottom of a snowman. So
it was pretty great.
It was great.
No, I love this movie, and yes, I will agree. I still think the CGI holds up, but I see you guys' arguments of a lot of it being wonky, and I can't disagree with that. There is some bad parts in it. The story, I think, is still solid. Watching it this time, I definitely questioned the Padme and Anakin story, because that seemed a little forced just to have her die at the end so that we can get the kids and Anakin can fully embrace being Darth Vader. But that being said, this is, I mean, I gave it an 8.7. It's a great movie for me, which gives us a combined score of 9.43.
Nope. Redo your math.
It
can't have a higher score than everybody's score.
It's fine. Damn it. Oh,
try dividing that by 4.
Yep, that's my problem. 7.08. There we go.
That's
actually pretty high. That's pretty high for us.
Damn, I was really happy because I'm like, oh, it's new number 1.
This is the first movie that Jordan's been on that one of us didn't nuke the other person's scores from orbit.
Yeah,
that's true.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, I guess it could be number 20. Was that 23? Yeah. I was really happy. I was hoping it was going to be number 1. Damn it, Jordan. Why'd you have to show up?
Sorry.
I keep forgetting that I have to do 4 instead of 3. I did the same thing on the Clone Wars one.
Yeah, you did.
Anyway,
That's how I knew you fucked up on this one.
yeah, it's fine. It happens.
Because I do math good.
Look, I gotta use a calculator, and I apparently can't do that right. So 7.8, 7.08, which drops it in at number 23, just behind X-Men at a 7.13, and just above Tales from the Crypt at 7.05.
Yeah, that's a good spot for it.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's in the top 25. So
we'll have your new number one when Rise of Skywalker gets here. Don't worry about it.
Will we though?
As a statement.
We'll have a new what, low?
I said number one, but that was me being sarcastic.
Oh, I thought you meant like number one as in like that was the whole score was a 1.
I would argue
it's gonna be lower than
if Ron doesn't nuke our score. I think Rogue One will probably be our new number one.
Agreed.
I would be okay with that.
But
Look.
we got to get Ron to be able to stay awake.
We gotta give Ron like some speed or something to keep him awake. Like,
I have a
We're in
plan
trouble.
for that one, okay?
You'll watch it during the day.
He's gonna get super drunk and we'll try to watch it.
You might get a better score.
That's true.
So, all right. Jordan, where can they find you?
BS and Craft Beer on Instagram. That's it.
Okay. Chuck?
Hey, you can find this show over on YouTube. Go check out our YouTube, leave a comment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit the bell for gosh darn notifications. Go ahead in the comments and list below if you think Anakin actually was poisoned in the brain and thus accidentally used the Force with his mind to kill Padme, because the dreams had become so powerful that he himself, as he slipped into the dark side, actually ended up killing her.
She did say that he broke her heart. So
right, and it was the Force. Because
I
mean, there's literally unlimited amount of powers that
unlimited power.
You can find me specifically over at Kicked Out of the Hood on TikTok and Instagram. No Ian Kicked. You can find my hobby page on Instagram, Kicked Out of the Hobby. You can find my food thing over at Kicked Out of the Kitchen. No Ian Kicked on TikTok. And make sure you head over to patreon.com/professional casual. It is $1 get access to the hot. But the 301 tier is where you want to be, and here's why. All the money directly supports us. If we can get, I don't even remember how many he said, but he being our boss, Timothy J. France, if he gets a certain number, I think it's 10 patrons over there, he's going to give us Zencaster, I think he said, so we won't have any more audio issues.
interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So
all we need is 10 bookers.
Yes, you need 10. I think he said 10 bookers is what he said. So, and of course, go check out my other show, Elite Eight Showdown, which at time of the time that this airs, maybe they finally are edited and dropped. This comes out in like a year, right? Something like that. So the ongoing joke is that it's probably going to be a year before you guys actually ever hear these episodes, and I can tell that it's getting underneath his skin like really bad. But he's got a Adepticon coming, so
now, if I recall correctly, wasn't the last time you guys canceled the show because he didn't want to edit, and now you're pushing him to edit?
Yeah. Oh, they're gonna be rough.
See you, Jordan.
I gotta go, guys.
Bye. See you later.
I was trying, buddy. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm just gonna leave my thing open right now and then close me out when you're done so I don't mess you up. Bye, people. Party people.
He had a minute. He's leaving early. Ron, where can I find you?
You can find me at your mom's house.
No, Jordan, hear that?
He left before I got to tell my joke. Thanks, Chuck. You can find me good at this game on Instagram and TikTok. You can find my art page on Instagram at Good Art This Game. Joey.
You guys can find me on Instagram, Comic Book Rundown, on Threads at Comic Book Rundown. Email us, comicbookrundown@gmail.com. Rate and review us on your podcasting app of choice. If you do, we'll read it on an upcoming episode. We've got merch over on Redbubble and TeePublic. And our song was done by Cam, who is now a father. I think I saw that on Instagram not too long ago. He's got a baby.
Is it his?
I don't know. I just saw him holding the baby.
Oh, okay. You know that like you can hold other people's babies.
He's
it doesn't
just
have to
stealing babies.
I
am the baby stealer.
I mean, he is going to be a doctor, so maybe he's practicing early.
Yeah. So yeah, so our next
Not a
movie-
medical doctor.
Fuck, I don't know
I
what
mean,
he's gonna be.
Vets are still doctors, right?
Master in fine, or a doctor in fine arts. I mean, he can
Oh.
still grab babies. It's just not going to mean as much.
Joey, what's the next movie?
Our next movie that we're watching is Punisher from 2004.
Oh,
Like the
yeah.
Thomas Jane Punisher?
The Thomas Jane Punisher.
Hell yeah.
Also, I was informed that there was a mini thing, like a 15-minute, 12-minute thing that he did in like 2012 to try and redo or try and get people promoted to become Punisher again or make another Punisher movie. I'm going to say very similar to what Ryan Reynolds did with Deadpool to get people to hype for that. So
Except one of them worked.
yeah, one of them actually worked. Yeah, so it's called Punisher Dirty Laundry. So
Okay.
good. Watch the movie, and then I guess watch that, and maybe we can comment on that too. It's
Where-
kind of
Where's the second
YouTube.
one?
It's on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
So, but yeah, Punisher 2004. I'm looking forward to this one.
Genuinely hyped. Like,
Yeah.
so fucking. This was no joke. Like, this is one of my favorite movies unapologetically.
Oh
And
yeah,
I know it's mediocre, but I don't care. This just hit me at the right time, and it's why I loved Punisher so much. And that soundtrack is so
soundtrack
fucking
is so
good.
it's such a banger.
But do you ever
man.
wonder like how they didn't notice Mystique was there?
No, she's a good shapeshifter. Like it's fine.
Yeah, it's true.
Angel was
They're
there
hiding
too,
it.
but they let him go.
They explain it in X3. She had to disappear for a while, so she's just chilling. You know.
There we go. All right, everybody. Thank you all for listening. We will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. And Scooby Doo.